Hey guys, before we get to an Age Contrived, just want to remind you, like, subscribe, ring the bell. That way you get notifications every time a new video comes up. Also, please find us on Instagram, Facebook, all those things. What else do we do, Bob?
Whiskey Wednesday.
That's
Every
right.
Wednesday we have a live show where we sit around, drink whiskey, talk board games. We have a lot of guests on there, including designers, developers, all types of people.
Sometimes friends of the show, right?
Sometimes friends of the show come on,
depending on when. Sometimes people that watch the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a very interactive chat. Really appreciate that. So yeah, find us on Discord, hang out with us there. And always, please leave us a comment. Let us know how you found us, what you thought of the video. Appreciate you, and we'll see you soon. Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
And this is the Board Game Rundown, and today we're going to do a review of an Age Contrived. This plays 1 to 5 players. It says 90 to 120. That's probably accurate. Probably way more on that 120 side if you're playing with a higher player count.
Right, especially at newer people.
Yeah, but at 3, probably you could get it done in the 90, even maybe faster once we got cooking, right?
Right, yeah. What'd you get cooking?
This was given to us as a review copy. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the game. We'll go through our thoughts, and then we'll give it a score. A brief overview on an Age Contrived. There's a lot going on in this game.
Here.
It's a heavier game, but basically we're gods like trying to keep people interested, right? Like, because that's their devotion. That's how we maintain our power and everything like that. And so this game's got a couple of very unique things going on. We're going to be trying to build these shrines or these buildings out here. And to do that, we've got these player dashboards with these awesome tiles. And these tiles have symbols on them. Then the symbols don't matter yet. So on your turn, you're basically going to pick one of your actions to do on your player board, or you're going to advance. So if you pick one of your actions, you're going to select, you've got 5 different slots, and you spend the power from the bottom, the energy from the bottom, and that gets exhausted, goes over into your pool, and then you will deploy, or
depending on what action
you take. So action 1 is going to be deploy from here, these 2 spots. It tells you right there on the thing. Action 2 is you can either buy one of these, and the cost is up here. So 1 energy, 2, and 3 energy. To buy, you can buy twice. So if you've got enough stuff up here, you can buy multiple of these, which will then go over here.
Your extras. Yeah.
And they're going to replace. You can only have up to 7 in your area at a time. So if I replace one of the starting ones, it just goes back to the box. You can also replace ones you've already purchased.
Yeah. Not the best, but you can.
If you want.
Right.
And the new ones usually are going to have more slots for energy on either the top or the bottom, and they're also going to have these symbols, which will come into play. Then the other thing you can do is if you don't buy twice, you can move an energy around that's already on the board somewhere. Like you can move it off of a monument piece over to here. You could move it over to...
from one building to another.
Yep, or
like
over to an achievement where you've met the requirements.
Yep.
And then on spot 3, you can deploy energy from these 2. Spot 4, you can move. And then you can either move your character on the map, or you can move up this track over here, which will give you abilities as you go. And then slot 5 is basically lets you do actions 1 through 4.
You choose one.
You choose one. So, but if I'm going to deploy, for example, I'm going to deploy the energy, like I'm spending the energy from the slot, but I'm deploying the energy from the space that this tells me I can deploy it from. So this one will let me activate either this one or this one. So I spend this to do this action, then I can either send these energy to somewhere, right? Like matching on any of the monuments showing, to progress those, or I could put them over into some of these circles, which are going to commit them to the board, which is super important for scoring points at the end of the game, but also locks them up.
Right. Now you're not using them to do actions and things like that.
To do actions. But I could also, throw them up here into the pool so I can buy stuff later.
Buy tiles.
So really interesting things you can do with that. Now the real meat of the game, right, is getting these guys built. And so when you get these built, you've got all the symbols matched. So really you only need to have one on there to get the get some benefits. To get some benefits. But to get the last one on there is going to allow you to get credit for building that monument, which is why we stood this tile up. So we would resolve, like, let's just pretend those aren't all the same color, right?
Sure.
So this player...
Say that was mine, different color, it's black instead.
So the top piece would allow him to claim both a compass and a wild energy from over here. So that's going to go into his exhausted pile, but it's going to give him...
More tiles to use.
More tiles to use. Or he could do whatever the action down here is, and they're randomly assigned. They can be like building a bridge. They could be like energizing a tile, you know, things like that. Just depends on what it is. And again,
they all change out. They're different each time.
Right. And it can even allow you to get like an upgraded action, like over here.
Yeah.
So you could increase those. Super important. Even laying bridges down. Super important. Extend your influence into other areas.
Yeah. Gives you presence in those areas.
Right, right. So then with the last tile, right, so those would come off, and then you're going to also, as you pull them off, activate whatever the unique ability is for the symbol on there. So the compass can get redeployed, right?
Yep. So the compass, you can place it into the pool on a different monument or someplace where you have an achievement for it.
Right. Yep. And then the magnet goes back and powers one of your things. One of your
boards again.
The wild energy doesn't let you do anything, right?
Right, because you get the benefit of it was a wild.
Because it was a wild.
Yep.
And then
but the rose gets to, you either activate a movement or you move up one of those tracks.
Yep. So it kind of gives you an extra
little boost.
One of the things you can already kind of normally do, right?
Yep.
And then the last guy is going to get to do that, and then they will commit that tile here, and then that piece goes up, which actually, and they're numbered on the board.
They tell you which way to put them,
and the tile is numbered. And those are different, right? Each time, each piece is going to require different types of energy.
Yep.
And then they have different rewards available. And that's basically what you're going to do. You're moving around. You want to get into the different areas of influence, so then that will allow you to commit energy into areas where you're at. There are bridges you're going to be able to build, and as you build those bridges, now you are whether you're in that area or not, if one of your bridges is touching, you are considered to have presence in both areas where your bridges are touching.
Yep.
Other cool thing about bridges is when you land or cross one, you're going to get the ability shown on the bridge.
Any player can get that.
Any player can get that, whether it's your bridge or not. So it's really useful to get those bridges out, not only for yourself, because it allows you to get other things, but it does help the other players depending on where you put them. So it's really important to kind of consider where you're placing those bridges. You can build over your own bridges or the neutral bridges, which start on the board, which all lead to the center area. And really, that's where you're going to do a lot of building. Like of your bridges.
Also, building bridges unlocks another asymmetrical power for your character.
Yes. So each time you build one of your bridges, each character is going to have 3. It's going to unlock a unique set of abilities for your character. Thank you for pointing that out. Super important.
Yeah.
Because if I build over,
cool.
If I build over bridge 1, now unfortunately bridge 1 comes back down to the bottom here, and I don't have access to that ability again. And the next bridge I build has to be bridge 1 again to then get that ability. So I don't know why you would do that, but I guess it could happen.
Maybe if you see somebody about to use your bridge, you don't want them to. Maybe.
Maybe. And that third bridge is going to have like a unique scoring condition for everybody also.
Yeah, we never overbuild our own bridges when we played.
That didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
So the game is going to end when all of the monuments have been constructed. And then basically you're going to finish out the round so that everyone has had the same amount of turns. The other unique thing is when you get it's 2 pieces in a center.
Yep, 2 or more pieces at a temple.
You're going to gain this guy. And so on a turn that you activate, you can build for free, or not activate. On a turn you advance. When you do this guy, the end of that action, you can build a monument piece for free, which allows you to speed up the game a little bit and rush stuff. Now, if somebody has an energy committed to that, they do get to resolve that because they participated in the building.
They were trying to help build it.
Right. But nobody is going to get any of the extra benefits from it. It just throws that piece on there. So if we did it on a place that had no pieces, nobody's getting anything. All it does is gets that piece off the board and established. Again, it does allow you to speed the game up a little bit. It can also kind of strategically, you might be trying to end the game a little bit earlier so that somebody else can't keep getting ahead.
It's like somebody else is like keeps putting pieces out to gain more points because a lot of the points are going to come from like an area. I don't say majority, but just having like stuff. So as you dedicate energy to an area, the more areas you're in, you're going to get more points. These little pillars, the more places you're in, those points are going to really tier up.
You got so many points.
Yeah, because you go from anywhere from 4 all the way up to 39 just by having presence in those areas. So those points can really
they do escalate quickly.
They do
very quickly.
Yep.
And one last thing, when you advance, we do have these icons right on the board, and you have the ability to gain extra upgrades, which then you slot in the top. So when you advance, when those icons line up, you get to do that action. So if I've got the 3 feet here, I can now move my character up to 3 spaces. So the same thing goes for the pillars or the castles, right? You would move up those tracks.
Yep.
So you would take an energy you have available from your exhausted pile, and then you could start sliding it up depending on how many you've got lined up.
Yep.
And then when you get it up to the top, you get to do a thing, whether it's putting a guy out over here, like on one of these spaces, right?
Yep.
That's the top of the thing. I forget what the castle one lets you do.
Let you put one into here.
Let you put one in where the icon is.
Iconography.
As
part of a move, though. So you can't just move it up there, then do it. You have to move. And then as long as you have presence in that area, you can then assign that tile
which is determined by either your figure or
your
a
bridges.
bridge.
Yep.
So there's a lot going on, but I will tell you, once you understand the rules, this game plays fast.
Yeah. It moves along.
It moves along. Great way to put it. So yeah, and then there's basically the scoring at the end of the game is it tells you right there on the board.
Yeah, it breaks down where you're going to get all your points.
Where you're going to get all your points from. We're not going to go like all the way into that.
Yep.
But there's achievements on the side. There's guys on the board in these circles. There's points to be had here.
On the pillars. Yep.
You get points depending on how many of these you've cleared out.
Yep.
And things like that. So lots of ways to score points. And that's a very brief, raw overview. If you want to see a great how to play of this game, there's a video by Knights Around the Table.
Around a Table.
NIGHTS.
Yep.
They have a playthrough video that really does a great job of explaining all the rules and breaking everything down. That video really accelerated our gameplay.
Yeah, because I was saying, so we did a brief kind of play of this at a convention. I wasn't super keen on it. I was kind of, but then I didn't really understand what I was doing. But then we watched that dude's tutorial, and it was really good. And I was like, okay, now it makes a lot more sense, and it really helped to get everything moving along. So I'm not sure what his name was, but yeah, Knights Around a Table. I will try to at the very end maybe put a little tag. I mean, that would be up here. Link to that video.
We don't know him.
We don't know him, but he did a great job, and
it was really
so he deserves the shout out.
Yeah, really helpful.
Try to help him out.
Really helpful for us. Also, Chris, who designed the game, was available, and I had messaged him previously on a rules question or two. So I mean, we had access
to rules,
to rules and
clarifications.
Stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, anyways, Bob, why don't you give me some of your thoughts on an Age Contrived?
So first, I guess maybe second, because the first thing was shouting out to that guy. The player aids that came with this were fantastic.
Yeah,
right? So they did a really good job because basically on your turn you're doing one of these two things in the very front. You're either advancing those are the easier turns. You're sliding your board down. You're putting the new tiles in, and whenever you put new tiles in, you're refreshing those and adding any energy you might have in your refresh zone into those tiles so that you can have them to use. So that was the most basic type of thing. Plus that can trigger, like Tim was saying, those extra icons later on in the game, which really helps to keep things moving along. And then you have all the actions that you can do, and just the breakdown of all this iconography is done really well in the action list inside of here. The energy type, so when you finish building these guys and you're doing it, it's got a breakdown of that in here. It tells you just the order and what to do things. So these things are super helpful, and it's always appreciated. There's a breakdown of the asymmetrical abilities on the back too. So it's always appreciated when a game does that.
They do give you also some really nice setup cards.
Yeah, so all your people here will have different setups for what they have. Tells you which pieces and energies go where, and then tells you hey, on your first turn, try doing this. Your second sort of kind of gets you going into the game, and that was very helpful as well. Like I said, because the first time I kind of looked at this, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what the goal was, and it didn't really click for me. But then when we played through the full game of it. everything started to make sense of what I was doing. I was seeing, okay, there's where it shows the points and what I'm doing. Now, Tim doesn't have it, but they do have a fancy version with these little metal shooter things, which is really cool. We didn't have those, but these are still fine. Everything works, works really good.
Yeah, they gave me this version,
the basic
for free,
version,
and I understand. I ain't mad.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny because our friend Wes came over and he was like, "Man, I would have brought my copy with the fancy shooters. I didn't know I was gonna be slumming it up with you guys playing the basic version,
slumming it up with this amazing 3D version. Stuff." Right? Yeah,
it definitely has some great table presence. But I did really enjoy this game a lot more after playing it through and realizing how everything was going to score. The fact that you have all your extra energy over there and like you can run yourself into a corner. You get all your stuff locked out here. You have nothing to do. Now you can, if you need energy, pull it off the board, but that means all that stuff you did to get it out there is now wasted because that's where your points are going to be by having them out there. So that balance of, do I lock a piece on the board or on a monument, or do I instead grab more energy from there? And so just that give and take was fun to balance.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny because we had two different sort of experiences with this when we did the little demo at the convention, where like to me there was a kernel of something that I was very excited about, but I really wanted to like play the whole thing and like really get to experience it. And because it is a heavier game, it's not always the easiest game to get to the table. So sometimes this gets pushed down. Let's do this will be faster. We're going to do this. It'll be faster. But I was so glad I had the opportunity to get this tabled and played because I had a great time because this game is so unique in like what it does and the way. Now we play lots of heavy Euros and stuff, right? And
like so action selection, worker placement, all types of mechanisms.
Right. And also this does have that thing that a lot of those do where like taking an action may lead to a cascade of other actions and choices, which is almost always, and in this case it is, but almost always really interesting. For me, it never got too burdensome as like too many things to like keep track of.
Right.
Like you said, that push and pull of committing those pieces to the board, because I was running really tight on energy at times because I was throwing all that stuff out on the board, like trying to get, I was getting in all the monuments, right? And doing all that stuff. And I'm like, oh no, like I've got like one, like it didn't make a lot of sense.
Advance, you might as well just do one because that's all I could fill. I wanted to double advance because I had my thing, my token, and I couldn't, man, I don't have enough energy because I committed too much stuff to the board. So I really should have worked on unlocking more of those first.
Right. And then there's even, I forgot to mention, but like everybody's going to have like a unique token here that you can use to advance sort of an extra time.
Right. You can advance and then spend that token to advance again. So you can really replenish your whole board as long as you have the energy to do so.
Yeah, and there's things you can do to kind of get that token back to refresh.
Yep.
Like if you take away or pull two of your items, paired.
Yeah, once you pull your second one off, it'll refresh that.
Yeah, if you've got a paired set. But anyways, so lots of really interesting and fun choices. The guy we were playing with, Wes, and he was really trying to run that end game, right? He's like
every opportunity he was pushing things.
Throwing up the things, and so I just made sure I had a piece
on each one,
and so it made it like, so he was like, every time he did it,
get your thing,
So I was still getting like a bunch of stuff every time, but yeah, I just thought it was really fun, and then watching, like I went a different way of getting points than you did, and then the West did.
Yeah.
And I feel like they were all really viable.
Right.
Because Bob was filling up these things.
I was after him.
Nobody else could even get one because with the player count,
we had three players, so it was only one per, and I was on almost all of them.
You were on.
I think West had one, and I had all but one other one.
Yeah. It was so many, and I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep up with that? But then
you did though.
But I did
because you had.
And so that felt good because at least like whether I was going to win or not, I was at least competitive, right?
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm going to score a bunch of points, and then at the end, I was able to get some things back in here to kind of increase that multiplier.
Yeah, because you had the ×2 equal to the same one, and then you had the same icon on those.
I did.
And so that way you were basically double dipping on your
and
points.
Then I was trying to make sure I was getting those out.
Yep.
But that's like a really fun strat that I was able to employ, right? And there's so to have all these different options, and there's there's a lot of replayability because of the random
these change out.
There's
these
random
all change
things
out.
You can do.
Yep.
Depending on player count, there might be different monuments that you're building. The players are asymmetrical. Now we didn't play solo, but there is a solo mode you can mess with. But yeah, this game did everything I hoped it would do. I had an awesome time playing it, and I'm glad that because I know you were skeptical at first, and it's like, come on, let's just play
Give it a shot,
and let's just see what happens.
Yep.
So I'm glad that you did that because I know I was definitely by far the most excited about this game.
Yep.
But I guess we need to rate this game.
It's true.
Bob, how do we do that at the rundown?
So here at the Board Game Rundown, we give games a rating from 0 to 10. We do use 0.5 for a little bit of variance. We're then going to take our score, we're going to average them together, and that will be what BGR gives it on BGG and Discord or anywhere you might see what board games are rated.
So again, before we rate this is just base game. Like there's no... This is
no bells and whistles. This is the base.
The base
version.
game. So these magnetic bits, these acrylic tiles,
the trays,
and everything.
The acrylic tiles feel really nice. I love acrylic tiles.
Oh, they're so good. Anyways, that's all base game. The deluxe version has the shooters, and the metal trays you assemble and stuff where you slide your things through.
Yep.
Anyways, Bob.
Yes.
What do you rate an Age Contrived?
Man, like I said,
is it a game contrived?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. Like I feel like I don't necessarily need to have it in my collection because we've got one in the group.
Yeah.
But I would, if you wanted to play this, I'm willing to sit down and play it again. So for me, that's a 7.5 for me.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, that's great. I think with everything that this game does, now this isn't a game that I'm going to get played all the time because of the weight, and it won't necessarily travel with me to family gatherings and stuff.
Yeah.
This is more like you want to play this, we'll plan on playing it, right? Not
necessarily an event game because you could probably play another game after this because it's not quite that long. But you definitely have to be okay. This is on the docket. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess if I went to like a meetup, if I just set this up and be like,
I will probably get some players.
Yeah, you could get some players because I think they'll be intrigued by the table presence. And again, it's not going to be a 4-hour game.
Right.
So you could still play something else afterwards. So that does help. All that being said, this is a 9 for me because I really enjoyed all of the options, and then again, it looks freaking great on the table.
It does.
I mean, the monuments are fun. Everybody wants to slap those magnetic bits on the brackets, and they go together really nicely. There's a lot to sort here, and the setup is a thing, but with lots of heavy Euro games, it can be like that. But I had a great time.
So if you average our score, that's a 8.3.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's pretty solid.
It was really good. I'm really glad we got to play it. I had a wonderful experience, and
I wonder if you get those shooters aftermarket.
Yeah, right. I know, right? I should reach out and be like, "Hey, man, how much just to get the shooters?"
Yeah,
I think you can buy them.
I think so.
So yeah. I'll have to, it might be worth it now, though.
Yeah.
Now that I played it, and we're like. Okay. Because that would even really get more people in.
Yeah, more people intrigued to be like, "What are you doing over there?"
I will say, I don't know if I'd want to play this at 5 though. It might drag.
It might be a bit much. I think 3 and 4 would be a good sweet spot.
I think that's, and I think playing it at 3 maybe also influenced my score because I didn't feel like we had a ton of downtime.
Right. Because some of the turns can run a little long.
They can.
Because you can take as many of these actions as you want. As you pull these off to do this action, I can pull this one off to do another action. I can pull this off. So you can do as many actions as you have energy for. That probably means that next turn you're going to be doing it in advance because you have no more energy to spend. But you can do a lot on your turn. You're not just doing one action at a time.
And I think that the turns felt faster because I was spending all of my downtime. I'm really just
figuring out what you want to do.
This one I'm going to go. How do I get this energy out onto the board?
Yeah, because the board doesn't change too much game state from turn to turn. Like it might swap this guy out and you have a different set of icons come up, but it's not like some games where you take your turn and then by the time it gets back around to you, you're like, holy cow, everything is different now. You have to totally reorganize what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and depending on how many monuments are out, there's likely going to be a place for
that spot, for that tile.
For that tile, right.
Yeah.
So just all things to consider when looking at your group and how you're going to cultivate your experience.
Yep.
But anyways, thank you to Chris for letting me walk away with a copy of an Age Contrived. I'm really glad I liked it. Had a good time. I'm glad you had a good time too.
Yeah.
So all that being said, leave us a comment in the video. Let us know what you think or if this looks like something you'd want to play.
Yeah.
And for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
Bob.
We'll see you next time.